It's always a privilege to get to speak with any athlete, and guess what? Major League Baseball, the season is just around the corner. It feels like it just ended, but it's not, and I believe I have this correct. I have pitchers and catchers for the St. Louis Cardinals report on the 15th of next month, and Jack Flaherty joins me here, and he is one of those pitchers on the Cardinals. So I think I have that right, Jack. How are you?
I'm doing well. You do have that right. I think day one is the 15th right after Valentine's Day.
I got to ask you, though, first off, we'll get into so many things and about your career and the initiatives and things. 162 games. I know you love baseball. That's a pretty long season, though, right? And if you end up getting the postseason, you could be looking at I don't know how many games, but it's a long grind.
You know, it spans a lot of months. I typically leave California very early on in February, and we're hoping not to get back until November. Hasn't gone that way yet, but we've run into the middle of October pretty much every year is when I get back. So it spans a long time, and you really gotta love baseball to go through that whole grind. I think people really understand. I think people really know that it's like every day. Like when I meet somebody and they're like, "Oh, y'all play every day." It's like, no, yeah, there's a game every day. You don't get a couple off days in a row. It's like, no, we get an off day, and then we back at it again the next day.
You need to be mentally and physically strong, right, with that game, especially for pitchers. And I get it once every fifth day, but still, you got to be completely on your game. Okay, we'll get into St. Louis and all that stuff in just a second, your career and the initiatives. I was looking up a little bit about you, and you were an amazing high school pitcher. Before we get into that, I know it's taking you back a little bit, but good memories for you. Where did this love of baseball start? I know you started when you were a kid, but was there one moment in time that you just thought, you know what, I kind of want to take this game and I actually like doing it?
I don't know if there's one specific moment, but my mom. I grew up in LA, so I grew up going to Dodger games. My mom would take me. She would take me since I was. I don't even think I was one yet when she would start taking me, and I'd just go. I'd sit on her lap, and she talks about how as kids get older and they go to games, they'd be running around, they'd get bored or whatnot. They feel like they need some sort of entertainment. She's like, I would just sit there and sit on her lap and I'd watch the games. And I would just be completely like locked in and like just enamored with the game, just absolutely loving it. And so, it starts with her, and, she has brothers that play baseball. And so that's how she kind of got me into it, got into taking me to games. And that's really where it came from. And since then, baseball's always been the first love. Played other sports, but that was always the first love.
It's in the blood, I know you played positionally too, and then you went to being a pitcher. So I think I have this right too. You went 35-3 when all was said and done, which is a pretty incredible record. And the last game that you played in high school, you threw a no-hitter against Riverside North. I think I have that right as well. Mm-hmm. I know obviously the emotions out of that game were amazing because of what you did. But going into it, if you did think at that time that was your last game, what was the mentality going into that one, if you can remember?
It was, thankfully, so it was the second last game I played because we won that one, but it was like I was starting. It wasn't even a thought of like, oh, well, we're not going to lose like today, like at home while I'm pitching. Like, that's not going to be the last high school game I play with these guys. Like, it was kind of just like, no, we're going to go out and we're going to win, and we'll deal with the next round after that. We end up losing in the next game. But yeah, it's in the back of your mind, going into it that day, like you knew this time would come, like, okay, like we're really here, and like it's in my hands. I had pitched both games that we had lost my freshman sophomore year, so I know what it's like to pitch, the last day and have the season end like that. And my junior year we won it all, and then senior year, like it was like, okay, like this is the last run we get. So I don't know. There's a little bit of luck involved in throwing that no-hitter. One of our guys made a great play to end the game, diving catch. But those things just happen. It happens. I don't really know how to explain it, but it's fun.
Isn't that always the case as well with a no-hitter or a perfect game? There's always one play, right? At least one or two plays that your teammates behind you end up helping you with that. So that's case in point with that no-hitter for you. So you got to St. Louis, and I'm not going to go into all the last number of years. I know they've been a bit of a struggle with injuries, etc. You burst on the scene, and you had a great season, and then injuries started happening. Talk about the mentality you've had to try to recover from those injuries, keep the mind strong, keep the body strong, and how you've gotten now to this point in 23 where I assume you feel healthy and ready to go.
Yeah, no, I feel great. It was when I hurt my oblique in 21, that was just a crazy time. It happened, and I didn't really know what to do with myself. I tore my oblique, flew back to St. Louis, was rehabbing, and it was the first time that the team was going on the road, and I was like not packing my bag. I was going back to my apartment, and I was like, man, this sucks. It is weird. And then you go into the
Yeah.
field for you're there for 2, 3 hours, and you got the whole rest of the day and you go watch the game on TV, and it's just different. I was like, this is not fun. I was like, you don't want that feeling again. And then, go through all the rehab, have the shoulder thing come up, and kind of do something similar. And then, last year, kind of a lot of that. I traveled last year, which, thankfully the team allowed me to do, and it was a
That's
lot
good.
better. But it just, you continue to put one foot in front of the other, understand, at some point, it's going to end. As the injury bug or whatever you want to call it, it's going to go
Yeah.
away. That pain, that soreness that just continues to come back, it's going to go away. But you got to figure out, you always have to get back to the root of why, not, how do I make the pain go away, but why does the pain keep coming back? And it took a couple of trials and errors, and eventually figured it out. But you just during that time, you figure out a lot about yourself, figure out a lot about what led to that, and just continue to dig deep.
What were some of the things, if you want to share, that you did figure out about yourself that you didn't know essentially beforehand?
I think I felt like I had a good understanding of what made me good mentally, and then I was able to understand okay, no, I actually started to get away from certain things. I started to think maybe it was, because I tried so hard and I cared so much every time I went out there and pitched, when it was a little bit on the opposite end of, you can't go out and try so hard and be I'm not gonna lose this game. Obviously the thought is we're gonna win, we're gonna do this, but some of the thoughts have to change a little bit, and you kind of gotta understand losing is gonna happen. And I think I got better at failing and losing by
Mm-hmm.
getting hurt, and
Sure.
understanding that there's things to learn from it. Whereas I used to just get pissed. You just get pissed, and you can't talk to me for 24 hours. It's
Yeah, you're
I
done.
go have a bad start. It's don't talk to
Yeah.
me, don't come near me. If my mom's in town and we got to go out to dinner, it's she's all right, we'll go eat, but she knows I don't want to talk about it. But she's always been great. We don't really talk baseball after that. It's always about anything else. And but I think I got better once I got hurt at understanding my teammates, and then I got better at losing. You don't want to get accustomed to losing, but there's
Right.
ways to get better at it and learn from it. And that was a form of a loss.
I admire that. I really do. If you can find a way to accept the losing the way that you did and grow from that, I think that's going to bode well for you, not just this season, but also the years down the road. Jack Flaherty joining me, St. Louis Cardinals pitcher. You mentioned that the Cardinals allowed you to travel. Just want to talk to you about two guys, well, three, but first two. Yadier Molina, the relationship that you had and still have with him, and Albert Pujols as well. Two of the greats, not just to play for St. Louis, but two of the greats to play in baseball.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had a little bit more of a relationship with Yadi, just throwing to
Yeah.
him, 4 or 5 times. I think, our media guys gave me a stat, or gave us a stat, it was Waino and Yadi had the record for most starts together, and then the active records right behind that were, I think it was me and Yadi, and then it was Miles and Yadi, which was crazy. So I hope we could have stuck around a little bit longer, but no, it just goes to that relationship that we had and continued to build over the years, and the trust and everything. And I remember him being hurt in 19, kind of as I started to right before I started to turn things around. And we would talk on the bench, we would talk every day, and just asking him, hey, what do you, I ask him all the time, hey, what do you got for me? And it's just
Mm.
me asking him, how do I turn this around? What do I need to do? What do I need to execute better? What makes me good? Because I thought I had understanding, and he's like, you're best when, you work down to up. He's like, you can go and get guys out up, but he's like, there's just something about the way your fastball plays here, and then your slider does this, and he's like, it's just very simple. And then talk, we would sit down. I would pick his brain about everything that came with the way he called games, so I had a better understanding of maybe what he's thinking, and we had a lot more. You could see him and Wayno have crazy non-verbal communication when he was pitching.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he started to develop that a little bit more. And then, Albert, just for the 1 year, from the day he came in, he was helpful to everybody. I think plenty of guys got stuck in our sauna talking to him for much longer than you thought, and coming out being like, I need something to hydrate me, because I was in there much longer than I thought. I know I got stuck in there 1 or 2 times, but he's got stories to tell. He's got just little things. Hearing it from a hitter like that, listening to him talk about the way he goes at pitchers and things like that. Those are things that you always want to listen to.
He doesn't look like he looks like a power hitter, right? He's a bit bigger, maybe not the most cut of a baseball player, but the guy could hit the baseball. So that's awesome. You got to get to know
One
him.
of the best hitters of all time.
Oh yeah, no doubt. No, it has that swing, right? His swing, and I looked at it too. It changed a bit because I've been waiting on over the years, but it really never changed. I always find that fascinating. Also about pitchers as well, but about hitters. What about Adam Wainwright? Just the relationship that you have with him. I know he's pretty special.
That dude is something else. I mean, it's like I said it this past week. From day one, he had my back. He was looking out for me. I could call him whenever. Probably call him at 2 a.m. He's probably up just like me, going over the game or doing something. And we talk all the time. We spend a lot of time with each other on the bench. I know his little. I've watched him enough. I know. I can typically know when it's gonna be, especially now later on in his career. I know when it's gonna be a good day, or when it's gonna be one of those like, hey man, it's gonna be a grinder today. Just in how he looks, and he can tell the same about me. But he's an awesome dude to be around. Like, regardless of being a baseball player, as a father, what he does for, with his big league impact. His family's amazing, and then as a baseball player, like the work, like it's where it started. That's where it was like, hey, this is the standard. I remember like my first spring trainings, I went to a big league camp. I talked with one of the guys that I was living with, and he's like, we gotta be there at 6 a.m. tomorrow. And I was like, all right. And he's like, no, like 6 a.m. because Wayno walks in the door at 6:05, and if we're there after them, we're in trouble. And sure enough, we're there like 5:50, 6 a.m. He walks in the door, and that's just the standard that was built. And it's changed a little bit more as sleep has gotten more important, and he's changed his ways a little bit. But that was standard for however long. And you just try to keep up with him, and he just pushes you.
It's great stuff. You got great influences.
He doesn't have to say much to push you. It's just the way he goes about it.
It's funny you say that because a lot of times the most impactful people are the ones that don't say anything, the ones that you just look at and, okay, I get it. You don't have to say anything. I'm on it, and off he goes. So he sounds like one of those people. Before we get into some of the initiatives, etc., you feel good. You're healthy. Knock on wood, you're going to have a great season. It's a big year for you. Going into it, what's the mentality? Is it just to get back to what you were doing years ago when you felt mentally strong and physically strong? Because I know you can do it, and I certainly know you can do that as well.
No, it's not get back to it. It's something that's been said. I just saw something the other day. Somebody said to me of, everybody's talking about, I hope we can get 2019 version. If that version comes back, then the Cardinals are going to be in a great spot. And I just, I'm had a couple more years and like more understanding of the game and the way that it works and navigating lineups. And, in that year, everything just for those couple months, like, were perfect. And it's like we talk about as starters, you're going to have those run of games. If you make 30 starts in a year, you're going to have maybe those some usually guys say 5 like elite starts where all your stuff is perfect.
Yeah.
And I had about 10 of those in a row. And then I had, a couple where it was like, the numbers came out great. I may not have felt like I had great stuff. I felt like my stuff was okay, but we started to figure out how to manage things. And then we come out in 2020 was a weird year. We come out in 21, and I don't think my stuff was great for like. I think I might have had great stuff, maybe one start. But I had about 10 or 11. Those first 10, 11 starts, I had okay stuff, but I like started to figure things out mentally and how to like work through games, navigate things, and I think I've just continued to learn and continue to grow off of that. So, better version or whatnot, whatever you want to call it, but I'm just have to be whatever version of myself goes out there. And usually good things happen when you execute, and that's the name of the game is going out executing and just continuing to like better myself mentally and understand the mindset that I need to have when I go out there and as the game goes on.
Sound like you're already there, which is awesome. You've had to rely on people in the last number of years to kind of, keep you going mentally and physically and all that stuff. Jeremiah 2911, that's on your Twitter handle. Certainly sometimes the plans don't go the way you want them to, but you always have to know that there is a better one ahead, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the one. I stole that from Inky Johnson, somebody I've listened to. I got first put on him back in 2016. Somebody sent that to me and kind of followed his stuff, but that's something that's a Oliver C quote all the time. And it's just one of those things. You gotta roll with whatever's thrown your way. Something different's gonna be headed your way. But eventually it's gonna end. And whether or not you're ready and whether or not you put in the work while all the whatever crap's going on and going through ups and downs, and at some point that's gonna end and you're gonna end up on the other side of it. And either you're ready for the other side or you're not. And if you haven't put in the work, then you ain't gonna be ready. So that's what it's been about. It's been preparing for this and feeling healthy, going in, have a normal off season, preparing for this spring training and this season going forward.
It's a good attitude. Always admire too any athlete such as yourself who gives back, and you've given back in a number of ways in the last number of years. And I want to just talk about, or you can talk about, the Boys and Girls Club. You partnered with that in LA, and it helps organize, and you did a giant toy drive this past holiday season. Couple things with that. Number one, that must make you feel good. And secondly, too, the whole book thing with you. I know that you've donated thousands of books. How important was reading when you were young, and how important is it still, I think, for the kids going forward here?
Yeah, so we got involved with I think the first time we did it was in 2019. We did like a book drive in St. Louis with Boys and Girls Club. It's kind of my mom's idea. She always had a handful of like kids books that she loved. She loved, and she was like, "Oh, you love this." And the name, oh man, I'm forgetting them. And I was like, the Giving Tree or something like that. Like that's one of the ones. She's like, you love that one. She's like, I want to like give, like we should find a way to, give these kids just drop off some of these books, and like support one of the local bookstores out there. And it started with like, oh, let's support one of the local bookstores. Like, let's go in there, buy a bunch of kids' books, and then like do some of the Boys and Girls Club and give it to them. And it's not about me feeling good. Like that's not at all what it's about. It's just like anytime you start to grow and anytime you start to get to a point where you are now able to give back, and especially with the people that I had in my life growing up that helped support me, made sacrifices for me and did everything. And they've always preached, my mom included, of as this goes on and as you continue to do stuff, remember you can always give back. Like that's something you should always like strive to do and make sure that you're able to do. So that's where it came from. And I know there's gonna be a lot more going on this year. My mom she is the idea person. She's come up with this of supporting, local bookstores, a lot of Black-owned bookstores that she's found throughout the country. We try to do that with clothing as well. Just some of the clothes I wear being Black-owned, and trying to get as involved with that as we can, and just continuing to do that as best we can. So, but it's been good. My team's been great about actually executing things and making things happen, because a lot of times ideas get thrown around and execution
nothing happens.
Is the hardest part. Yeah, that's the hardest part, is executing.
Your mom's pretty special, huh?
She's one of a kind, and she is.
Yeah, I can
She
tell.
gets it done. They just had a call today about making sure that this book drive gets done. You know, you get a couple cities as we go into, buying a bunch of books and from she's got bookstores picked out, and then being able to take them to boys and girls clubs and being involved that way.
Love it. Talk about your own brand called Don't Think, the mindset behind that, how it started, and just those two words, don't think.
hmm that's one of the things that as I started this that came to my mind of talking about being in the zone. And for me, that's anytime I thought about, okay, when I was in high school, okay, what made me really good? How was I able to be on the mound and not be worried about, what so and so's thinking in the stands, or what's going on over here, or if I have a bad game, like none of that went on. You don't ever have those doubts in your mind of like, okay, what happens if I have a bad game? Like, you're just thinking about the game. Like, first off, it's fun. It's a game we've played since, I
Yeah.
was 4 or 5 years old, and then
Yeah.
we love it. And then it turns into, well, how often can I get back in the zone? Because when I'm in the zone, like, that's where good things happen. And that's how 19 went. I was in the zone the entire second half.
Yeah.
But a lot of that comes from preparation. And so being able to be so full, and there's a Roy Halladay quote on my phone. Talking about there's always so much going on, but if I can go into a game and be so fully prepared that I don't have to worry about anything else, I can be so fully prepared days 1 through 4, all the days that I have to put in work, to get in the gym, do my recovery, do my video work, do my mental prep, do my video prep, do all of that. If I can be so fully prepared that by day 5, which pitch day, everything else takes care of itself. I don't have to go
Yeah.
out there and overthink. There's obviously an element of thinking that goes on. There's
Sure.
something that has to happen,
Yeah.
but guys get in trouble when they overthink or overcomplicate things, and it's not. You can't have that. You gotta find a way to get into that zone and do that. So that's where that comes from. And then the last piece of that is something that we talked about with one of my guys that I talked with about unbreakable faith, and just no matter what happens, no matter what goes on out there, like, you gotta trust yourself. You gotta trust your stuff and what you got. And every day is gonna be different. Everything that you got, and that kind of comes from everything that has gone on the last 2 years of dealing with injuries and being like,
All right.
we've been through enough of it. Let's continue to trust yourself and what we've got.
You mentioned Roy Halladay just quickly. Thoughts on that? Because he, certainly he left this world far too soon. But when he was here, I watched him play a number of times in Toronto. But he left a lasting legacy on many people.
As one of the best pitchers to watch. I mean, you go look up his highlights and watch him pitch. The way he went about it. One of our guys, Chris Carpenter.
Yeah.
They were close, and we talked about him and their relationship, and just how hard that Doc worked, and just how he was as a competitor. It's one of the biggest things you can do is you can get out there, compete, but always like, I always talk about body language and whatnot, and you just go out there, compete, and if nobody knows what's going on, nobody knows what's going through your head, nobody can see anything on you, they don't know whether you got your good stuff or not. And the other side, they don't know. Like, they can't tell if you're like look the same on whether it's a good day or a bad day.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be able to look at. They should be able to look at you and have no idea whether you are winning or
It's your
losing.
poker
Or
face,
they
right?
should, or they should assume, oh, they must be winning. Oh no,
Yeah.
he's giving up 4 today. But then next thing you know, Doc's going. He's not going like giving up 4, going 5. If he gives up 4, he's stretching that. He's going 7, 8, and
Yeah.
next thing you know, he's gone 8 innings, given up 4 runs. It looks a little bit different, and maybe the team's gotten back into it because he's held him at 4. And you trust your line, you trust your guys, you keep him at 4. Next thing you know, 4-4 ball game. Maybe they've taken the lead. Now you've got 7, 8, and it's like, hang on, I got a chance to win. I just gave up 4, and that's what he would do. He would just through so many innings and continue to go deep into games, and always poker face, is whatever you want to call it.
Amazing people that you've been around, and whether it's Albert, Yadi, Adam, and Roy Halladay, I could go on and on and on.
List
Look,
goes
we're
on.
out of time. Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. Would love to do it again. And look, man, I've got a great feeling about you this season, and I put this on as the closest thing to St. Louis Cardinal red I had. So I donned that for you today, but I wish you the best of luck, and go get him. And, yeah, you can catch Jack Flaherty at JFlair on Instagram. And March 30th, I believe, is Game 1 against Toronto. So go easy on the Jays if you don't mind.
Can't do that. Thanks, Ryan.